Yo, what's up, Salt Nation? It is not Thursday night. It is Wednesday afternoon, and I want to thank each and every one of you guys that are hanging out in the chat. Lots of Salt Nation representing in the chat early and often. We had this up for a while, and I just want to thank you guys for being amazing, amazing. Shout out to Woolly Gamer for helping me set this up, you know, as well as tech stuff. Trying to get everything going, so let me know how the volume is for you guys. We're going to be playing some clips and all the other stuff, and hopefully it works out tech-wise. You know, there's some things that happen here and there, but we're going to have a discussion between myself and Colin Moriarty. If you guys aren't familiar with what he does, then I don't know. You're probably living under a rock. He used to work at IGN, and he does the Sacred Symbols podcast. He has his own media group on YouTube. And it's going to be amazing discussion. I want to keep it civil in the chat. It's going to be awesome to have this discussion. Trust me, because that's what I like. I like to have debate. I've always liked that in my life. You know, even growing up through high school, I wasn't part of the debate squad or something like that. I was nerdy, but didn't do the debate team, but I love debating about stuff, and I just want to let you guys know that I try to keep it real here. Lots of people think that I'm a PlayStation fanboy, but if I was a PlayStation fanboy, I wouldn't be calling one of the most popular PlayStation content creators out. I just feel like that's what we do on Saltiest Gaming podcast. We see things that happen, and that wasn't even a planned topic with what happened with Colin. So we're going to discuss it. Long story short, Colin did a podcast. I have the uncut version, and then we have what happened is I'll share my screen right now so you guys get what's going on. So we had a fan respond because he shared his content right here. This is what Agro85 had to say when he shared it. This is why I love Sacred Symbols podcast. They always drop these truth bombs that resonate with the mindset and gaming community. Gamers don't want Microsoft to acquire any more publishers. I'm glad that Colin and Co. ain't afraid to speak up. We need more of them. Then Colin responded with a uncut version, and this is what he had to say. Below you will see a video from Sacred Symbols Uncut in which I discuss Xbox PlayStation acquisition rumors. Watch it, then watch what I say in the quoted tweet, which has been circulating for days. You're no friend of our show if you do this, and we don't want your love. That kind of triggered me as a content creator, so we're going to discuss this, the way he responded, what the context where it was, and we're going to get into it. I can play my audio from my podcast as well as the clips, so we don't get anything out of context. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, what's up, Colin? Thank you for being on here. What's going on, man? I think he might be muted.
Sorry, I'm on mute.
Hey, what's up?
There we go. Hey,
how's it going, man?
for having me. Well,
So, I've never done an interview with you, and everybody knows who you are because you're pretty popular in the industry here. But if you can give a quick overview of who you are, just in case someone lives on planet Mars or something like that, you know, your history and stuff.
yeah, thank you for having me. My name is Colin Moriarty. I've been in the industry for about 20 years. I worked at IGN from 2002 to 2014, and then co-founded and ran Kinda Funny from 2015 to 2017, and then have been running my new company, or my most recent company, Last Stand, since 2017. And I also co-own a developer named Lilymo, and we make mostly like old school arcade games, and I'm the writer and creative lead of those as well.
So would you say that you're a PlayStation guy? Like, would you be classified that as a gamer? Like, what's your history with gaming?
Yeah, my favorite console of all time is the NES, but yeah, I'm a PlayStation person largely because that was my beat at IGN, and I had a PS1 in '97, PS2 in 2000, so on and so forth. But I was also a big Nintendo fan, so I was kind of doing both tracks. And at IGN, we more specialized, so I kind of clued in on PS3 and PSP at the time, and then PS Vita a little later, then PS4 and PSVR, PS5. So yeah, these days I'm pretty much totally on PlayStation. A lot of Xbox gaming happens in my house, but that's my girlfriend. So yeah, I do most of my gaming on PS4, PS5, and Vita.
All right, so I'd be missed if I didn't ask you this question, because I go with different communities. I don't know what community circle you run in with gamers, but there's a lot of people that I talk to online, and they do these Twitter spaces and they ask for your gaming credentials. How would you feel if someone asked you for your gaming credentials?
Oh, I'm completely confident in my credentials.
Okay.
I have
Okay.
125 platinum trophies and play 20 to 30 games a year. And
so on the PlayStation side, though, right?
Yep, on PlayStation, or multi-platform games as well. Once in a while, I'll play like Switch, but I actually gave my Switch to my friend when he was here just a few days ago because he needed something to play, and I'm like, I never play it. Yeah, I play a lot of games. I actually am one of the people that thinks that calling out people that cover games for not playing games is a pretty valid form of protest. I don't think you're going to find many PlayStation gamers that play more than me.
That's awesome to hear that, because honestly, I think that's a big issue in this industry. There's a lot of quote-unquote gamers that are in media and other venues that act like they game, and when they don't, like if someone was to ask, hey, what's your PSN, or hey, what's your Xbox ID, they would, go around the question and not want to tell people or have it private. And I've had this as a point to say, in life, we ask for people's credentials, right? If I'm going to a mechanic, I want to know what kind of cars they've worked on, or where they went to school, or a doctor, or whatever. Where'd you go to school? What's your credentials, right? So I just think it's weird that we don't, like, if someone asks you for your gaming credentials, you don't have to show them. And it's weird for me that some of these guys that talk about gaming as in the industry, a lot of them don't play games. I don't care what the platform is. They're representing this medium without actually playing, and that's a problem, because if you don't have the credentials, I don't need to be hearing from you, or your takes are just invalid for me, because that's what we're all here for, is games. And I appreciate what you're saying. This discussion is about what you said about Xbox on your podcast, and if it was taken out of context, we will get into that. But one of the things that I have to ask you, if you don't play on Xbox, I don't know what your Xbox ID is. You said your girlfriend uses it. Why would you talk about an Xbox topic ever on your podcast? How would you respond?
Well, I'm an industry analyst. I know more about the video game industry generally than I think most people that play on Xbox or PlayStation. It's my job to analyze those things. We try to stay out of that realm, generally speaking, and let Defining Duke cover that. And I was a big champion at IGN of specialization. So we actually tried to break up the console teams at that time, or they did it, for a little while. And we really resisted that because I felt like I would rather, well, I always use the example during the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox era. That was the first era I had a lot of, well, not a lot of, but I had money for the first time. It was like my high school and into college for me. And I found that, so I would go buy everything. I bought all the consoles, and I had a shit ton of games, and I really loved GameCube during that era, but I also messed around with everything else. And I found that era to be the most, I don't know, it didn't give me any pleasure compared to when I was just really into NES, or I was just later on really into PS3 and Vita, or so on and so forth. So I think you kind of have to pick and choose. And, I'm paid to be an industry analyst. So speaking about the past of the teams and, the different acquisitions. I should also note, and I don't say this to my audience anymore because they know, but I'm a Microsoft shareholder. I own a not insignificant amount of Microsoft stock. So that should be thrown out there as well.
Yeah, that's one of the things, because this is what I do. I don't know. Lots of people thought I was going to come in this ill-prepared, and I don't do that. Like, I'm one of the most prepared persons you'll meet. It's probably stark. It's kind of scary how prepared I am for this. I analyzed your words in the beginning of your unedited podcast. Trust me, I've known everything that you said. And this is going to be a great conversation because we can learn some things. And I think it has to stem with the way you are and the way your content is. And I understand that your brand, what it is, your media group, because you're building that, and that's why you reached out to an Xbox team to talk about Xbox. But I don't know if you know my background. You probably not, because I'm a small channel. But I was an Xbox guy. I played Nintendo, bought the Super Nintendo N64, and then guess what? I was an Xbox guy. I did Xbox content, but I was tired with their lack of games, because it's the most important thing. So in 2019, I finally bought a PlayStation for the first time, and it was like opening up I don't know, a treasure box in experiencing these great games that were to be had on the PlayStation platform. Some people call me a flip-flop or whatever they wanted to call me. I just found greatness is all I can explain it. All right. So I have about almost 90,000 gamer score on Xbox. I've played and beat almost every exclusive they have for Xbox One, except for Recore. I just couldn't do it. And then I've played and beat pretty much every PlayStation first party exclusive that came out for the PlayStation 4, and I got almost 20 platinum. So I'm not there where you are with PlayStation, but I would say I'm one of the most well-rounded gamers out there, because I do own a Switch, I do play it, I do own PC, I play and beat my games. So that's why when I talk about stuff, if people want credentials, I can give them on all avenues. But then people see my content and they would associate me as a fanboy, but it's far from the truth, because I would play wherever, whenever. I've said this, I'll play on a toaster if the game is good. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is the problem that I have with the way that you responded to Agro. We'll get into it. He's a PlayStation fan sharing your content out, and unfortunately the way Twitter's set up is you can't put more than what 2 minutes and 11 seconds or whatever. So he's a fan sharing your content out, and I understand you're a big channel, and you're pretty, you made it, right? We could say that you got your Patreon set up, you got your media group, and for like small content creators like me, I answer comments even though it's toxic sometimes with the haters. I try to
make a lot of assumptions. You make a ton of assumptions about.
All right, so what assumption am I not getting to right now? You know.
Well, I mean, because
do you respond to comments and stuff?
You just have these, because I listened to about 10 minutes of your show.
How did you hear about it? First of all, that was a question. How do you know about me, or how did you hear about? I honestly never heard of you, and that's not an insult. I'm not in the YouTube space really. Like YouTube is an afterthought for us. We're in the podcast space, so I don't really know what's going on YouTube. We want to build out our YouTube. We have, I think, like 80,000 followers, but or whatever you call them here, subscribers. But you're making a lot of assumptions, like, because you were assuming earlier, like, well, we reached out because we needed an Xbox guy, and you're talking about how well-rounded you are. Like, none of that is really relevant or germane to the conversation at all. Why isn't it though? Because you're talking about an Xbox
I'm not
topic.
I'm not asking you about your credentials. I believe you. Like,
no, but I'm asking you about yours.
Yeah, my credentials. People can go look. Moriarty-IGN.
No, I'm asking about your Xbox credentials, my dude. You don't play on Xbox. You said that your girlfriend does. So how?
My girlfriend does, and
why would anybody take you seriously about anything you say about Xbox?
They do or don't. That doesn't matter to me. I don't. So
that's
you're understanding. All right,
that's the point. I'm telling you.
You're not going to talk over me, or I'm not going to do this. We can talk one and then the other. Okay. Cool.
All right.
So Xbox. The reason that people listen to me about Xbox is because I've been in the industry for a long time. I played Xbox. I played Xbox 360. If you knew how Xbox 360 games were covered back in the day, which I doubt you do, you would know that you would not get games on the natural network. You would have to put games on the debug hard drives and change them around. So a lot of stuff from Xbox 360 as opposed to PS3 during that era, we don't have the legacy trophies and achievements from that era. We have the legacy PS3 trophies because we were able to hack basically the PSN and change the debug settings. But everyone's achievements from that era are gone. So that's not really a meaningful thing. You're talking about credentials, like that's really the credential. You could really just ask me questions, and then I can tell you my credentials or not. Because you're talking about credentials as being like, oh, well, I play these many games. Well, it's like, dude, I make games. So does that mean that I have more credentials than you? I literally publish games on Xbox. So does that mean that, like, I have more of a right to talk about it than you do? Like what you're saying really makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. So I understand that. I understand that angle, but that doesn't work for me. Sorry.
All right. So threatening to jump off, I didn't want it to go that way. So I'm gonna have to understand when I can talk and when I can't, because obviously it's getting a little tense, and I understand that. But what I'm asking you, I said this. Why did I ask you for your credentials for PlayStation, and you gave them glowingly? Right, is because you play on PlayStation, but then you're
I have great PlayStation credentials.
Okay, yes. So when you're talking about Xbox, you're saying I'm an Xbox, I'm a Microsoft shareholder, and the reason why I think that you did that is because you feel like you need to be a shareholder to be able to have a dog in the race, to be able to talk about
the stock market. If you think that,
I bought
Microsoft stock because it's worth money and it's worth twice as much or more than what I paid for it now.
So why would you mention that?
That's why you
then?
buy stock. That's why you.
Why
buy
would
stock.
you mention it? You mention it multiple times.
Because it's important for people to know that there might be, if you're looking at a situation and people are talking about topics, and you're like, oh, you find out something after the fact that might imply bias that they didn't put up front. That's what you do. We do that on our show all the time. That's why we do our show. You guys do the kind of show you want.
That's fine.
That's not the kind of show that we do. So of course I'm going to say, if I have some sort of conflict of interest, which Microsoft would be, my Microsoft stock would be the only conflict of interest. Because that was what was so funny about the things you were saying, was like, they don't want to lose access. Like they don't want, you have no idea what you're talking about. You have literally no clue, no basis in fact, for the things you were saying about us and our show. And that's it. I mean, that's all there is to it. It was hysterical. That's why I only listened to 10 minutes of it, because it was nonsensical. And you think it's about the thing, like we can go into the things that were said. I really don't care. You're making this thing. Like, you said actually, quote, you said, quote, I don't know if Colin knows this. You can only put 2 minutes on Twitter. You can't pull the whole fucking thing there. I wonder why you might want to maybe link to the full context of something that's being said. Like all these things that just don't make any sense.
All right, so I have it all, okay? I have Agro's clip, and I went through it with my buddy. I found out what was taken out. I have the full clip from you that you posted because I think that's important. Why did you feel it was necessary out of everybody? Because you say you don't follow those circles. It's impossible to respond to everybody on Twitter because I've been there, right? Why did you decide to respond to this guy? Like, why was it important for you to correct things here, right?
Because we don't want fanboys in our audience. It's really that simple. And
so that's okay. Sorry.
I don't want fanboy. I mean, first of all, Defining Duke can do whatever they want. So we have a completely decentralized system. So for instance, I have a real beef with Jeff Grubb. I don't know if you know him from VentureBeat, but he was just on Defining Duke. So we let them do whatever they want. The reason I thought your commentary was so funny about our show is because do you know that we literally don't work with any PR by rule? That we have no connection to any marketing at all? That we don't talk to Sony? That we're blacklisted by most companies? No, you don't know that.
No, I did know that.
Because the things you were saying are, of course, completely out of the realm of reason. You didn't do any of your research, and it's a really stark comparison.
Wait, can I? So I can't. I can't interrupt you, but you can talk and say wrong things, right? You don't know me, right? You made it a fact to say that. I'm some little YouTuber, but I told you, you're in the ring with someone that does their research, and trust me, Colin, I know about you. I've done my research. I do know that you're off the cuff. I know what your political stances are. I know what happened between you and your buddy. I know why you started Last Stand. I know that you're trying to do a podcast that was related around politics that failed, and then you went back to gaming. I know all of that, dude. The thing is when I'm asking you about stuff, there's a reason why I ask you about it. Now, you're getting really defensive, and usually when people get really defensive, they feel like they're being attacked and something's true there. Okay, I get what your media group is. The reason why you hired an Xbox team is because you don't play on Xbox. So how could you talk about that? And you want to get a larger audience. Is that correct or not correct?
No, what we wanted, Maddie was already part of our group doing videos for us. So we wanted to give him more of a show. So we're going to probably do another thing with him next year. But in the meantime, yeah, we wanted to do something else. Our options were a Nintendo show, an Xbox show, more of Sacred Symbols, which we do more of, and all of that.
So why did you do that?
Because we felt like that was the best parallel to our current content, and it worked out great. Because we also do a third show.
Would you say it reaches more audience with more content?
Sacred Symbols is probably like 6 or 7 times bigger than Defining Duke, and I would say most of the overlap is.
But do you reach different audience? You know what I'm saying? Because there's Xbox gamers that wouldn't listen to your show since it's just a PlayStation show. You know?
We wanted to just give people another perspective. We don't really know if it's drawing in more people or what the overlap is. Like I said, I think that the Venn diagram is probably more like a circle. It seems like people that listen to one show with us listen to everything. But I'm afraid that, like, it's fine that you did all the research. That's cool. We can talk about all of that. Okay. But you said something, you said, quote, if you're going to call yourself no taxation, if you're going to go against the grain and call out media outlets and all this other shit, First of all, my name is No Taxation because it's a reference to no taxation without representation.
Okay, so what does that mean to you?
Once you've identified as saying something negative against Microsoft and you're afraid to not get access to them or whatever the fuck you're trying to do, I'm sorry, you lose. I can't fuck with you at that point. These media guys, they're afraid to say anything. They don't want to say anything because they're going to offend someone or lose access or free shit. That's the thing. That's the real deal, right? We pay for all of our games. We pay for all of our hardware. We don't go through any PR. We don't solicit codes. We don't go to preview events. We don't accept preview builds. We don't accept early builds. We don't accept alphas or betas from companies, et cetera, et cetera. So that was my major thing. You're doing research about this whole another thing. But you have to understand, and that's fine, but you have to understand that I listened to 10 minutes of you telling your audience all these things about our show, your perception of our content and all these things, and have illustrated beautifully why we don't do this kind of content, why we don't want fanboyish content. You actually said at one point in your podcast, quote, "I'm not trying to pander to any one audience," end quote. But your masthead on Saltiest Gaming is all PlayStation content. Your titles are all these inflammatory things about Phil Spencer and PlayStation 5 owns this and all of that. And you know what? That's totally fine, and you can do that. The reason that I am here is because I want to defend. You asked, why did I want to go after this person? It's because we were being tagged over and over and over again, and I was going to let it go. But as I told David, either privately or maybe even publicly, when I saw one of my employees getting hounded and saying that social media was unusable for him because of all this shit being taken totally out of context, then we have a problem. Because we don't dwell in that world. We dwell in the world of, see, that's the thing. We have a lot of fun on our show. We try to be silly. We talked like for an hour about nonsense before we got into the topics. But when we get into the topics, we try to be fair. We try to be concise and all those things, laser focused. So I'm glad you did all of your research about all those things. That's great. But it seems like you missed the entire thing where we don't actually deal with anyone in the industry. We get no early access. We pay for nothing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right. So what I want to ask you is, what's your definition of a fanboy? Because I could pull the clip right now that what you just said. You don't want fanboys watching your podcast. How many PlayStation fanboys do you think watch Sacred Symbols?
I have no idea.
A lot, probably, right?
Maybe, but we know that here are the things that we can, because you're asking for data that we don't really have. So here's what I can tell you that we know. We know that the audience, if you just compare the, and this is anecdotal, but you can do it on your own videos, and we did. But if you compare the comment sections, they're just much more civil. They're much more about the topic. They're much more agnostic. You hear constantly from people talking about how Xbox and Nintendo fans, PC gamers, listen to our show because they feel like it's fair insight. People, in fact, feel like we're really hard on Sony and maybe too nice to Microsoft. But I actually have been really impressed with Microsoft the last few years. So that's part of the reason why we're complimentary to them. We want to deal in a facts-based area and facts-based places, which is what I used to do at IGN. That's why many of the stories that I wrote at IGN are still some of the greatest pieces or deepest pieces of history on these various studios, because there is no real journalism. There is no real research. There is none of that. We're trying to do that. That's why you said in one of your quotes, but they don't want to admit that, though, ellipsis. Colin has been famous for being that guy that goes against the trends, right? Calls out media. He had this thing with IGN. He has his patrons backing him, so he can say what he wants. But like when the rubber meets the road, you're pulling back because you don't want to lose whatever connections you have. That's the problem I have. That's what you said. That's what you said.
But you do run a media group, right? I mean, why do you get so defensive, man? I mean, there's a guy sharing your clip,
why do we get so defensive? Because our product is important to us. This might be some fucking side thing you do, but it's important to us.
No, it's not, actually.
It's our company. It's our
So
product.
It's not what I... See, you're assuming more things. You don't know me. I do this full time as well as watch 2 special needs kids, and I have side jobs, all right? So don't tell me about not being important. This is my life. Gaming is my life, and my YouTube is my life, all right? I built it from the ground up. I didn't work at IGN and get popular that way, all right? I had to put my videos out and get seen over how many videos are uploaded every day. I know you don't do the YouTube game, but I do, all right? So whatever you do, I'm doing. I'm hustling just as hard. Okay, so let's get that straight.
That's now, great. What I'm saying is, so
you can cut me off, but I can't cut you off. I'm just trying to get it straight. And then if I cut you off, you'll jump out.
I think there might be a small audio error which is causing that to happen.
Okay, so I just want you to know that the way it happened is there's a PlayStation quote-unquote fanboy is what you're calling him. He took some parts out that you didn't like, and you blasted him. You said, I don't want you talking for us. We don't need your love. That just sounds like a dickhead. You get it? because
Yeah,
these are the people. These are the people that built you up. And I understand you're in a place of comfortability, right? You feel like you've made it.
You're totally.
But the thing, no, I'm telling you why I responded. Do you understand? Because I'm a
No, I
smaller
don't
content.
understand. I don't
Okay, so
understand.
you don't understand that you're Colin and you have one of the biggest Patreons out there, right? And you've been in the industry for how long? But there's still people trying to do stuff and hustle on the side like myself. We still need to, you know, go into the comments and thank people when they're not our Patreons, or we go on Twitter through
Again,
the
you have no idea what
toxicity,
you're talking
right?
about. You have no idea what you're talking about. I answer every DM from every Patreon personally.
Every Patreon.
I answer everyone.
So paid people.
Everyone.
What about non-paid
person.
people? What about non-paid people?
I don't think you can get messages from them. But in our messaging system, I answer every person personally. I answer every single customer service inquiry personally. I answer every comment on every podcast personally, on the videos personally. So again, you have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm sorry that you're being offended by what I'm saying, but again, I'm just going to reiterate.
I'm not offended. We're both talking about this.
We take our content
and I
seriously.
do too. And
I don't think you do, because you know what? Some of the other see, this is what I'm saying. Your content is about.
So
other
you know me for
content.
10. You know. So either you're lying because you said you've heard of me for 10 minutes. Now either you're lying or you know me more than you say you have. Because if you only know me from that 10-minute clip, you don't know anything about me. All right. So you don't have any grounds to talk about me right now. All right. You don't.
Why did you have? First of all.
So what are you going to say then?
Your name. All right. So first of all, let me just say this. Everything you said in that 10-minute clip was wrong. You've not acknowledged, by the way, that you were wrong or made that shit up about anything. You made it all up. I'm just letting your audience know.
It's not wrong.
You made
I didn't make it up.
Here's what you said again. If you're going to call yourself no taxation, if you're going to go against the grain and call out media outlets and all this other shit, but then once identified as saying something negative against Microsoft and you're afraid not to get access to them or whatever the fuck you're trying to do, I'm sorry you lose. I can't fuck with you at that point. These media guys, they're afraid to say anything. They don't want to say anything because they're going to offend someone or lose access to free shit. That's the thing. That's the real deal, right? Sorry. That's what you said.
Okay. So let's just, because I can play what you said. All right. So I have facts here that you said I don't know what I'm talking about, but I do. You're saying I'm cutting you off. You're cutting me off. The thing is the reason why I talked about it is just like anything on a podcast. If there's something that bugs me, I'm going to call it out. It doesn't matter if it's Colin or it's someone else or that. I'm going to talk about it. That's what a podcast is about, right? That's what America's about, is free speech and talking about stuff. Because
what are you even talking about? Can we just stay on the topic at hand? Like, I don't.
All right, so let me
all day.
All right, so let's play the video. I'm going to share it to you since you're talking down to people like you usually do, right? Because you're talking down to me. It's clear as day. You don't feel like I'm on your level. That's cool, man. But I'm gonna share
your
my
coverage is definitely your coverage is most certainly not on my level.
Okay,
no.
yeah, because you're a media guy. Because you're a big media guy, right?
You made things up to your audience, and then
how did I make?
And you said things. What did you say too? You said.
Let me play. Can I play what you're saying? All right.
Yeah. I'd say whatever you want. Go ahead and say whatever you want. Play it.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen for you. You can watch it at the same time. We're going to play the unedited clip that you shared, and we're going to play the edited clip that he shared. And I want you to talk about your explanation why you lost it on this quote fanboy and why he's not worth watching your content. All right. All right. Can you see that on your screen? I'm sharing on Discord.
No. Well, okay, here we go.
All right.
I click watch stream.
Microsoft buying any of those companies would be fucking heinous.
Yeah, it's up now. It's
with a capital H.
This is the edited version.
It would make people hate Microsoft. No one is going to tolerate a reality in which Microsoft gets Take-Two and then takes Grand Theft Auto away from 150 million people that own GTA 5 or something like that. It's just nuts. Here's the fucking reality of the situation. Microsoft has done very little with studios that it has nurtured and founded itself. And it is going around and grabbing things off of the market because it cannot satiate that demand internally. And that is not a problem that is happening with PlayStation. And that is the two things that differentiate the two. But no one can go and say like Sony has gone and really injured other companies with their acquisitions. And I look at Xbox, there are some teams where I'm like, come on, man, you guys are just buying things. But why would you buy like Ninja Theory? What was the point of that? What was the point of Double Fine? I mean, obviously Psychonauts 2 is really great, but in terms of culture, and so I just think that that would be another move like that where you're just grabbing things because you can.
There's a lot of people that want to argue about one of Microsoft's greatest strengths is their ability to open up their wallet and buy things for their console. And from my perspective, they have to buy things because they're so terrible at managing their own teams. Look at the last decade. Okay, look at since the entire Xbox One generation, even slightly before that. Look at games like the Crackdown, right? Crackdown 3. Look at how they handled Fable. Look at how they handled their most valuable IP with Halo since Bungie's been gone.
Plus Phantom Dust canceled, Scalebound canceled.
I was about to mention that.
Yeah.
They can't even handle their second-party relationships. So what do? They resort to just buying studios, and you better pray that they don't get involved with the management of these teams, because look at the history. Just look at it, right?
Mhm.
And I think that they very wisely, at least for now, said that they're going to let Bethesda continue to be like a sub-managed brand, because you better hope that they don't get involved, because they continually are screwing up over and over again.
All right, so I want you to just respond to that and say from your point what was cut out, because I have the unedited clip as well.
I mean, just play the clip then. I mean, you can see. I mean, there's probably like 8 or 10 clips in there.
Okay.
Go ahead and play it.
All right, so this is the one that you posted, okay?
Microsoft buying any of those companies would be fucking heinous with a capital H. And it would make people hate Microsoft if they went and did something like that. I'm telling you. They do shit like this at their own peril, unless they bought one of these publishers and left them completely alone. No one is going to tolerate a reality in which Microsoft gets Take-Two and then takes Grand Theft Auto away from 150 million people that own GTA 5 or something like that. It's just nuts. And I think it's, I've been pretty nice to Microsoft, and I think that they deserve a lot of the kindness that comes from this show. Not that they care one way or the other. I think they're doing a nice job. But here's the fucking reality of the situation. Microsoft has done very little with studios that it has nurtured and founded itself. And it is going around and grabbing things off of the market because it cannot satiate that demand internally. And that is not a problem that is happening with PlayStation. And that is the two things that differentiate the two. And by the way, if Sony came out and said, we're buying Take-Two, I'd be like, that sucks. Yeah. You know, a lot of people were rumored about the Square Enix thing and all that. I'm like, that would suck. I want Sony to make new teams. I want Sony to make new IP. And maybe you buy 1 or 2 teams that you worked with, which has always been their tradition. But no one can go and say like Sony has gone and really injured other companies with their acquisition.
Okay. So that's the clip that you posted. Now I want to hear what the difference was for you and why you responded to Agro the way you did.
Well, you can just now put them side by side and play them together, and you can see the cuts.
Okay.
I mean, you don't have to do that, but do I really have to like explain what was cut out of that? Are you being serious?
I can tell you what was cut out of it. All right, it's the PlayStation parts, right?
It was all of the context about the conversation, which had nothing to do with Microsoft. And see, this is why we don't want to be cut out like this by fanboys, because we want to have a conversation around bigger things. The conversation about like what happens when a big publisher is acquired. What would happen if Sony or Microsoft acquired these various publishers? It's a bigger conversation than that.
Okay. So
I don't know what else to say about that.
No, but what I'm trying to tell you is what was cut out was very few parts, and then what they had to do with you saying that you'd have an issue with PlayStation doing the same thing. Is that correct? It would suck, quote unquote, is what you said?
Yeah. Basically, we would have gotten none of the nonsense we got from all of the fanboys, which we do not want to interact with. And that was basically it. I mean, it's totally self-evident. I mean, you can see it or you can't.
What is? How did you who titled this section for timestamps in your podcast?
Probably our associate editor.
Okay, so it says a Microsoft acquisition is heavily rumored. How do we think it might go down? No mention of PlayStation there. Seems like an Xbox
this is so fucking
topic to
pedantic.
me.
Do you have? Is this like really?
So you're getting you're getting triggered again.
This.
I'm asking you a question.
Oh my god, dude! Stop using the word trigger. Are you the kind of guy that uses like terms like snowflake and shit too? I mean, this is what I'm talking about. Like ponies and Xbots and all this kind of stuff.
Okay.
You make content about other people's content. I make content that people
want
to watch. That has
again,
to do
you
with
don't
that
know
at
my
all.
content.
I'm interviewing
10 minutes of knowing
2 games. I'm interviewing a guy about his game with the Holocaust. You're talking here about and making things up about our content and talking about how we don't want to be involved in the console war and we we talk down to our audience. You don't know anything about us. That's all I wanted to come on here and say that to you. You made all of this shit up in the 10-minute little diatribe that you had to say. And there's nothing else to really say. So you want
to bounce out, right? Because it's not going the way you wanted it. I asked you a question and you won't answer.
It's not going the way I wanted it. I'm looking at the top. I'm looking at your own chat. And it's like when the Raiders play away.
Nah, you have a huge audience. You can send them out, but you're not getting away from this.
Send them out. Dude, did I promote this anywhere? Find where I
Hey, your audience is bigger than mine. I get it. But see, you're so triggered then you're saying that I'm getting beat in the chat. I'm just having a conversation with you, and you won't even you won't answer questions that I asked you. So how can this go anywhere? You won't describe why you called out a person that was sharing your content, trying to be a good fan, and then you say you don't want fanboys to follow you, but they do. They watch your content. So the fact is you won't tell everybody to stop watching your content because the majority are their PlayStation fanboys, but then you don't want any fanboys watching and you think you're better than everybody that is quote a fanboy, but you won't define what that is.
Yeah, you know? No, a fanboy is a person who takes console gaming so seriously that they root for one console over the other. I think it's pathetic. I think it's sad. And I don't want it in my audience. I think content about that sort of thing is pathetic and sad. And I don't want to be part of it. If people want to do that kind of content, that is totally fine. If you want to include our kind of content, because I have this is a surprising thing, I know. You said in your show, quote, I don't know if Colin knows this, but you can only put 2 minutes on Twitter. You can't put the whole fucking thing there. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The entire show is already on the internet. And all you had to do was point someone to this timestamp and listen to the conversation without flexing it and cutting it 10 or 15 different times. I don't understand what is wrong with defending my content. I believe in my content so much that I'm willing to defend it. And I'm willing to defend my employees, which is why I was upset about it to begin with, because it was bothering them and hurting them. And it hurts the image of our show, because our show is a fair show. Anyone who has listened to Sacred Symbols knows that it is not a fanboy show. It is not fanboyish at all in any sense.
And I never said that. And I never said that. But you wouldn't let me speak. You're not letting me say anything. You're cutting me off. You're degrading me. You're downplaying everything that I said, and you're not letting me ask questions. What's the point of an interview when you just say, "Well, I mean, all the facts are there. Go listen to it." It's like, no, I'm asking you specific questions and you won't answer them. I asked you, why is the timestamp titled in a way that it's a Microsoft topic? And how did what he cut out?
You have to ask Ben. I don't know.
Okay, so when people click on that timestamp, they're expecting a Microsoft topic, and that's exactly what it was. And what Agro shared was talking about everything you said, you know, heinous. And if Microsoft acquires Take-Two, the gamers would fucking hate it, all that stuff. But then you talked about PlayStation. If they did the same, it would suck, but they don't have the capital to do the same. Microsoft, you said this in your podcast, has the capital more than EA, Activision, and whatever other company you said. They're $1 trillion company. They can do a lot more than PlayStation, right? PlayStation is not going to go out and buy Take-Two. It's just not feasible, okay? So those comparisons, when you talked about Square Enix, see, the thing is, when you talk about Square Enix, if PlayStation acquired Square Enix, you said that would suck. Well, what happened to timed exclusives where they're doing Final Fantasy VII for undisclosed amount of time? The remake where Xbox gamers can't play that, or the new Final Fantasy.
I don't even know what you're talking. I have no idea what you're even talking about. So now you're talking about third party timed exclusives being the same as
Did you not talk about Square Enix if PlayStation acquired them, that it would suck and you wouldn't like that in that clip? Because I have it right here.
Yeah, I think it would be awful if Square Enix, if any of the
publishers. So how does that not make sense? What I'm saying
about third party timed exclusives?
Yeah.
Do you even understand how the industry works at all? I'm not trying to be an asshole, but you really
no. But the way you talk is an asshole.
No.
Am I talking down to you like you do to me?
I'm talking down to you because you're asking me these pedantic, stupid questions with
no
knowledge about how the industry works.
You think that you're up here and I'm down here. I'm some peon, but that's not how it works, Colin. I understand that you think that you can talk to people like that. You can't talk to me like that. All right. Okay. The thing is,
no problem, dude. Here's the,
but you threatened to go off my show in the beginning. So how does it not make sense? When you buy a publisher, right? You talked about this in your clip as well. People would hate if Microsoft bought Take-Two if they kept it exclusive. But if they went multi-plat, it'd be okay. Did you not say that?
Say that again.
All right, so if Microsoft bought Take-Two, right? You said that gamers would fuck. I could play the clip. I have it right here because you seem to
I don't need you to play the clip.
You seem to forget everything I'm saying. So I said
any publisher purchased by any big entity is bad. Bad for everyone.
Why?
Bad for the industry. Consolidation is bad. When you do mergers and acquisitions, the thing you seek immediately is return. You remove risk. Therefore, you start making the same things over and over again to mitigate risk. That's why you don't want acquisitions. What you want is organic growth. And if you're going to acquire,
and that's what PlayStation does.
You want to acquire, yes, you want to acquire second party, just like they were setting them up. Some don't work and some don't. Quantic Dream got away. They didn't have a good relationship anyway. Supermassive got away because Bandai Namco swooped in. But they ended up getting in bed with, others, Insomniac, a longtime partner, and all of those kinds of things. You can't compare basically a forwarded amount of money for a timed exclusive. And we don't even know the nature of the timed exclusives because, for instance, Final Fantasy VII Remake should already be on Xbox, but it isn't. So we don't even understand what the nature of the exclusives are. So you're talking about things that we literally don't even have the details.
All right,
on.
so but it's taking games off of one platform and not allowing other gamers to play it. The time things is just it's not non-subsequential here. All right, so what we're going to talk about is that you did bring up Square Enix as your comparison. If PlayStation bought Square Enix, did you not say that? I'm just wondering because I can play it, but you don't want me to play it either. I don't understand what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, I think it would be awful if Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo bought Square Enix.
No, but see, you're putting those other things in there.
First thing, because it is bad for the industry. Consolidation is bad. Do I have to say it again?
Can I explain what you said, or do you want me to play it, but you don't want me to play it? All right, you said Take-Two. All right, all right. So we're gonna get to the Take-Two clip here. I'll play it because we can't take that out of context. All right. So this is
PS4.
To play
that just felt more real because I always noticed when I was didn't have to be that way, and I'll never forget that. But again, a lot of great games stranded on that cell.
Hey, if you work a 9 to 5 and you want out, check this out. Hey, so sorry. Hey Nick, how much
processor, and hopefully we can get those over at some point. Joel Palmer wrote in and said, "Hello, Sacred Sim boys. When playing a new first-person game, the first thing I do is look down. I would find this completely unacceptable, and I think Microsoft must know that it will backfire on them if they push this too far." So, Chris, go ahead.
No, I think
you're out of the way. Not that they care one way or the other. I think they're doing a nice job, but here's the fucking reality of the situation. Microsoft has done very little with studios that it has nurtured and founded itself. And it is going around and grabbing things off of the market because it cannot satiate that demand internally. And that is not a problem that is happening with PlayStation. And that is the two things that differentiate the two. And by the way, if Sony came out and said, we're buying Take-Two, I'd be like, that sucks. Yeah. A lot of people were rumored about the Square Enix thing and all that. I'm like, that would suck. I want Sony to make new teams. I want Sony to make new IP. And maybe you buy one or two teams that you worked with, which has always been their tradition. But no one can go and say like Sony has gone and really injured other companies with their acquisitions. And this is the kind of thing, Bethesda's one thing, but this is the kind of thing where I would find this completely unacceptable. And I think Microsoft must know that it will backfire on them if they push this too far. So Chris, go ahead.
No, I think there's some.
Okay. So you're able to hear that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're talking about Square Enix, how it sucked. So that's what I'm pretty much saying, right? That was your comparison to the Take-Two. If Microsoft bought it, publishers, etc., just like you're saying, consolidation. So that's exactly what I'm saying. If they buy it, because they're not going to buy Take-Two. They don't have the capital to do that. They
do have the capital to do that because you wouldn't do it in cash. But the point is that you wouldn't want to necessarily take out the necessary debt to make that kind of deal. But Sony's market cap is a lot bigger than people give it credit for, and they could easily make a deal for a mid-sized publisher like Square Enix. If they wanted something like Take-Two, of course, you would have to either take over the company hostily, or you would have to go to the shareholders, and Sony might have a compelling reason to go to the shareholders and say, we want to buy Take-Two, and we'll give you X amount of money for each share, X amount of pennies on the dollar, plus maybe we give you vested interest in Sony. I mean, these things can happen in a bunch of different ways. It's not just a cash deal. I mean, it's not the way any acquisition works.
All right, so I had planned with Jaffe to come here and talk about fanboys, but it's up to you because you seem pretty set on You know, I'm not worth your time. So it's up to you, man.
It's not. Listen. I want to be really clear. First of all, I think that we have a small second delay. So I think we are talking past each other. I usually, as my audience knows, backs off a mic and let people talk, but we can't see each other as well. So that's also affecting it.
Yeah.
But I will say this other thing. Do I think you would ask, you straight up asked, do you think that my content is better than your content? It's like, we take our content very seriously. Then you said you take your content very seriously. But if you take your content very seriously, why in the 10-minute thing that I watched of yours get so many things wrong, and you can't acknowledge any of it? Your entire premise, the entire predicate of your argument was wrong.
So,
and you bring up this thing about Square Enix, and you bring up this thing as if like this is the level of research. I don't understand. I just don't understand.
The way you talk is so demeaning, man. You don't even get it. It's just the way you talk to me, okay? The way you talk to anybody. It's the way you talk to Aggro, a fan of yours. We don't want your love. It's just so brash, so dickish that you think that you can talk to people like that. That's the reason why I brought it up on my podcast. People are asking me why I gave a shit. Do I give a shit about what you said in terms of people cutting your content? No. See, the thing is, I follow Aggro. And the thing is you labeled him as a fanboy and you think he's below you, or you could talk to people like that. You can't, man. I don't care how many thousands of followers you have. It doesn't give you the right to talk to people like that. Do you understand?
I don't even know. You've been all over the map. No, I don't understand.
So why can you talk to people like that? Then?
When a person takes our content, our very lifeblood, misrepresents it, brings a bunch of heat onto us
he
from people that aren't familiar with our content.
Represent your content, dude.
Yeah,
I already played it all. I played it all.
Yeah, I know. So, and I think just read. Why don't you go to when I posted that thread? Why don't you go and read all of the people that are like, yeah, you're absolutely right. It is totally different.
And you have a huge audience, and he doesn't, right? So they're gonna, of course, agree with you, right? I mean, you don't get these things.
Oh my God, you're. This is the thing. I'm sorry that it had to come because you're probably a perfectly nice person, but at some point, I mean, here's what you said. I mean, you said. Quote, you said this, and he's talking shit to people that are just trying to give him props. You're no friend of the show. We don't want your love. That's bullshit, dude. And you talk to your audience like that, or anybody. That's just weak as fuck, dog. And you can come on this show. You won't. And you might have all these patrons, but that's fucking weak. End quote. Well, I totally disagree. If people are going to weaponize our content in a way that makes us
look
bad,
weaponize your content.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He
gave exact quotes of your stuff that can't fit on Twitter, and he gave the stuff that was relevant to Microsoft. And you were talking about Microsoft when you don't even play on Xbox.
Yeah, I don't know what that. I love. By the way, your people are deleting all of the positive comments, which is hysterical.
Man, you are so obsessed with the chat, dog. Focus on the conversation with me. I know I'm below you, right? Because you're reaching out. You want to reach out to your fans. I get it. They're all here. Trust me. I don't care about what they're saying or what's. I'm trying to talk to you because you're not used to people calling you out. I understand that, right? You feel like you're better than people. But you don't respond to everybody, right? So apparently I hit a nerve for you because you're not used to people.
Because you said
right?
I wouldn't be here, so that was easy enough. I mean, everyone knows that.
I mean, there's a lot of people that probably say that, right? I mean, there's a reason why you okay, so it wasn't worth your time. Why did you respond? I mean, if my lowly channel, it's not worth your time. You only looked into it 10 minutes. Why would you come on here?
Because I want to have something to point to people and say, like, this is why we don't want fanboys in our audience. This is
but you won't define what a fanboy is, right? I asked you about that.
Why don't you rewind about 20 minutes when you asked me and I told you what it was?
The toxic nature, right? But you're saying Agro's a fanboy by what he said, and I can show the web browser, right? Is this something that was toxic? This is why I love, man, he's so toxic right here, saying he loves Sacred Symbols podcast, right? He's sharing your content out. Truth bombs that resonate. How did he weaponize it?
I shared, yes, he did. I shared 70 seconds consecutive unclipped of what I actually said. That's well below the Twitter, standard 2 minutes and 20 seconds or whatever. So you didn't have, he edited it, I think 9 or 10 times to make it fit. And then get all those other things. So of course he edited it and did it and weaponized it out of context. And the reason that I wanted to do the show is because you said I wouldn't do it. I said I would. You invited me, and so I appeared. And I'm happy to say we don't want fanboys in our audience. We don't want fanboy war stuff. And it's not the kind of content we do. If that's what you guys want to do, that's totally fine. But that's not what we want to do. We want to be a fairer arbiter of what we think is real and what we think isn't, what we think is good and what we think is bad. That's why we have no connections to anyone in the industry. You said that we didn't want that's why you said I haven't even talked to a person at Sony since like 2017. That's how long it's been since I've even had contact with them. And you're sitting here saying, oh, we want to lose our connections to Microsoft. First of all, Microsoft works with a PR company called Edelman mostly, and I haven't talked to Edelman in many years either. So
but you have a Microsoft team on Last Stand, dude.
Yes,
you're part of that.
To an Xbox audience. Yes.
You're part of that, and if you come off as a fanboy-ish, then they're going to get hit by it. That's correct, right?
No, we weren't worried about defining Duke because they can take, again, we have a decentralized thing. They take care of their own show. We worry about ourselves, and we want our show to be treated fairly. If Xbox fans come in, we want them to understand that because the reason that was taken so out of context is because it removes everything nice that I said about Microsoft. And so it makes it seem like we were just talking shit about them. It's obvious to anyone that watches those things fairly. That's why we wanted to call it out. And we wanted to make an example of it because you can say whatever you want about us. You can say positive or negative things. But if we feel like our content is being misrepresented and it disrespects our own cadence and the things we build and makes it seem like we are something that we're not, then we're going to fight back about that. That's it.
The weird thing is I agree with everything you said. That's the funny thing. I didn't say I disagreed with anything you said. I just disagreed the way you responded to a PlayStation fan. I thought you talked down to him. You labeled him as a fanboy, and you didn't want to have anything to do with them, right? So that's the reason because I'm not saying you were wrong in anything you said. I actually love your content. I've said that. The thing is the reason why this was brought up is because I felt like what he did didn't warrant the response, and I feel like the title of the section in the timestamps was put in a way where it was a Microsoft topic, and he was sharing his thoughts on Microsoft. He wasn't, putting a deep fake on your face and changing your voice or going from one sentence to another and putting it. He went, I went through the clips with my buddy Wooly. I told you the things that he cut out. It's not like I didn't know what he cut out. He cut out the PlayStation part where you said that it would suck if PlayStation did the same, or the Square Enix stuff. I get that, but what I'm trying to say is that you're saying this is toxic, this is this and that, and I get it, but I feel like the definition of fanboy, that's why I went here. That's why I wanted Jaffe here to talk about the fanboy situation, but it can't go to that because I feel like media types that take themselves too seriously, they have a definition of what fanboys is, and they'll just label people and talk down to them or think they're better than them. When we're doing gaming is looked down on still by adults. We're adults playing video games.
Do you understand? All right, I appreciate that, but don't you understand that the kind of cadence that the fanboy stuff has is making it seem worse? That it's making it harder to be accepted? That kind of stuff circulating.
I understand that. I understand that.
Serious as possible. We don't.
I understand that, but I said to Jaffe, and I have conversations with him, do we agree on everything, like political and just even his thought process on Game Pass or anything? No. But the thing is, I had a long, lengthy conversation with him yesterday about fanboys, and I thought that was one of the reasons why we could get together and just kind of talk about that, because it's not an all or nothing thing with that. I feel like the media people take it to this level where they say, oh, that person's a fanboy. Boom. I don't care about you. You're scum to me. But it's like, we're on the internet. People share jokes. Like I told Jaffe, I do PlayStation stuff. And if I was really a fanboy, I would get offended if you said anything negative about PlayStation. But I like to laugh because life is short, right? So someone shared a thing about PlayStation dudes talking crap about the Xbox beta for Halo, and he did some skit and it was funny and I shared it but some people would consider that a fanboy thing on both sides, and then they would just hey, I don't want anything to do with you. You're a fanboy, this and that. And I don't think it's as cut and dry as that. And I feel like media people especially, they just kind of hold themselves high above that, and they say, well, I'm not a fanboy, I this and that, and it's just like, it's not cut and dry like that is the thing. And I do know that there's fanboys out there that do support your content, and it's unfortunate you say that you wouldn't want them to watch your stuff, you know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of people that give you a lot of money, and I don't think it's like, hey, if you're a fanboy, you're just a PlayStation person or an Xbox person, and if you share some of these jokes, I don't want to deal with you, that's the point out there. I don't think it's that serious.
All right, but so what got you upset is that me, Colin, went after a person for what we feel, and I guess we completely disagree. Although, whatever. about this video that's being brought up, and that was the point of contention for you.
Yeah,
was that I disrespected a fan.
Pretty much the way you responded to him. Say you don't want his love, you don't want him watching his stuff, and it kind of went into that thing where I feel like some of these popular media people just take themselves too seriously. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with you, and it's something that I learned at IGN and later at Kind of Funny. You know, Damon Hatfield, who's still at IGN, used to say, like, we would have these conversations about people arguing in the comments and disrespecting us and disrespecting each other and whatever the case might be. And we would say, like, this is our house. Like, you don't invite people into your house that disrespect it. Just because they say they like you and want to be in the house doesn't mean that they have the right to be in the house. And if you're not going to come in and follow what I would consider to be some pretty basic rules, then we have no problem. We had no problem at IGN. We had no problem with Kind of Funny. And I have no problem now saying we don't want this kind of cadence in our, like, anyone that would weaponize. And again, I feel like that was weaponized content clearly based on the incredibly vitriolic response to it. We don't want to be part of that. I just did an interview yesterday with Dylan Cuthbert, the programmer of Star Fox, right? We want to do that kind of stuff. And we have fun on our show, and we analyze the news, and we analyze what's going on, and we try to be balanced, and that's it. That's all there is to it. So if there's room for fanboy content well, I don't want to say like yours, I know you say you're not, and I appreciate that. But on YouTube, that kind of stuff prevails more often, and that's totally fine, and that's fun, and I appreciate that people have that kind of stuff. But you say you actually said something in your last show that I thought was interesting. You say, "quote, you're a person, you're not a celebrity." I completely agree, and anyone who listens to our show knows that I'm horrible to myself. So I understand that. But you went on and said, "You might think you are. It doesn't matter how big you get. People are gamers. Console wars exist. They do books on them, and it's just jokes, man." Yeah. And I was confused by this because you on one hand you say they do books on them. Yeah, Console Wars by Blake Harris, a good friend of mine. It's an amazing book, and you know, documentary and all those kinds of things. But then the next sentence you say it's just jokes, man. Well, I don't know what it is, because you said that your content is serious, but then you're saying it's just jokes. But it's not jokes to us. Like, we have fun playing games. We hope we have fun playing games. We try to make the best kind of content that we can for an audience, but we don't want to be part of people that are I guess this is what really needs to be said, sports fans of consoles. Okay. I've said this time and time again. If it was financially reasonable, of course it's not, for me to be the only person in the world that owned a PS5, that would be fine. I don't care who else is playing on what. It doesn't matter. It has never mattered to me one iota. And so I can't relate to that. I'm a fan of a certain console, a certain ecosystem. I became very knowledgeable about a certain vertical in the gaming industry, and so really gleaned onto that. But at the same time, I have no interest in saying, like, this is better than that, or that is better than this, or we won this, or we won. Who cares? Like, I don't care. And if people do care about that, then that's fine. But that's not the kind of content we do, and that's it.
Yeah, because, you know, you might... I know you're a Jets fan, you know, but why is there differential between how people can have preference or tribalistic nature in pretty much every aspect of life, like sports or, you know, other things, but it's not acceptable in the gaming space?
Well, I would argue that it's not acceptable in sports either. Like, it's cool to have, again, to be a fan of something is different. I'm a huge Jets fan, like you said. I listen to a podcast every day, every weekday, called Locked On Jets. And the reason that I like it so much is because it's fair and honest. It speaks to people that like the Jets but understand that they suck. I don't want to listen to a show that's like, the Jets are going to beat the Patriots. It's like, what? Look at history. Of course that's not going to happen. And I don't care about that. I want to focus on, like, the team and how they, you know, every week, you know, on the Cincinnati kind of mentality. So I would disagree that like, just because that exists in sports doesn't mean that it necessarily should. The fandoms there get toxic and horrible too, and it ruins it. It's why I don't go to games live anymore, because it's not fun. You know, when people are getting picked on at a game, you know, I'm at a Jets game, and an away fan a few rows up is getting picked on because they're wearing, you know, Team X's jersey. I'm like, I don't want to be around this. I'm 36 years old. You know?
Yeah,
like,
I definitely agree that the toxic nature that it gets to is not acceptable, and that's how I feel about quote unquote fanboys. But I do know it's kind of human nature to have preference. It's just the way it is. I walk into an ice cream store. I've used this analogy lots of times. I like vanilla, and you know, sometimes if I don't like chocolate, that's just human nature. And then like sports teams and everything else, it just comes down to the tribalistic nature of human beings. I don't know if you believe in whatever you believe in, it doesn't matter, but you know, where human beings started with tribes and stuff, that's just the way it goes. And I don't agree with the fact that they shouldn't have fans cheering for different squads or whatever you said with sports, because I'm a big sports guy. I do sports podcasts as well. People don't.
I want to be clear. I didn't say that. I'm a huge like you. You're a sports fan. I'm a sports fan too. I'm a big Islanders fan. I'm a big Jets fan. I love going to the games. I love cheering for my team. That's
so it's
not
the
what I'm
toxic.
saying at all.
It's the toxic thing, right? Is that what
because
you're saying?
because when it becomes like, for instance, when I was a kid, my dad wouldn't even let me go to Islanders Rangers games because predictably there would be massive fistfights, like in the crowd, in the parking lot, and all of that. And that's what I'm talking about. And I feel like console wars are very similar to that. It's
I agree. I agree.
I don't care about that stuff. And so, so you have to understand, Salty, that, and again, I don't mean to disrespect you, and I'm sorry that it came off like that. But I'm pretty incensed when my content is taken out of context, so that when people come in the door, they think we are those guys at Nassau Coliseum fist fighting, but we're not. And I think that anything that represents us in that way is unfair to us. And when I see my employees upset about it, that's a big problem for me, because they're like the lifeblood of our company. So I was going to let it go because you asked, why did I focus on this as opposed to other things? Well, you're right. People, if you just look at my mentions, people talk shit about me all the time. Exactly. But when I knew that it was upsetting my people, that's when I wanted to jump on. And that's it. That's kind of it.
Okay. People are asking me about Jaffe. I've tried to reach out to him, dude. He has the Discord. He was supposed to be jumping in here at the end to talk about fanboy stuff. I don't know if you have contacts with him or whatever. He's going to try to, you know, level stuff out and kind of have this fanboy discussion, but he's not talking. He's not responding. I'm not sure what's going on there, but I think that we've kind of reached impasse here. You know, things went the way that they went. I just want to, you know, let you know I still respect your content, even the way it came off. If you talk down to me or whatever, I still enjoy the stances you take in gaming, and I don't think that's going to change based off of what we had to say. And I understand that you're protecting your brand and the way you responded. The summary of it is just, I think there's a little bit of leeway there where you're just defining someone as a fanboy and then just shitting on them and saying you this or that and that, and you're taking us out of context. I think that you can just be a little bit more nice in the way you approach that, but you don't think so. And I presented my points, and whatever, your fan base won't agree with it, and some people may, but you know, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I think that we talked about what we needed to talk about.
All right. Well, I appreciate you having me on, and much love to everyone that listened to us, and I'll bounce out and let you do the rest of the show. I guess.
Hold on. David Jaffe's in the chat. Hold on. Give me a second. Let me see, because I really wanted him to come in and talk about fanboys. I swear, it was just, I thought this was the learning part of this. He's here. He wasn't in. Give me a second. Let me add him in. All right, Jaffe, you should have access to it if you want to hop in here real quick. I can't drag you in. You got to come in on the left side. It's kind of a little bit of a delay because he's made multiple videos about fanboys and how he, has had it with them, and I kind of wanted to get his take on it from his perspective. So give me a second here. We'll try to add him in. Jaffe, let me know if you can see this. All right. One sec. He's in the chat. All right, Jaffe, I gave you access to the Discord. All you got to do is join. You do have the role now. Just join the voice chat on the side. I can drag you in, or join the Saltiest Gaming podcast voice chat, and then we can go from there, my dude.
All right. Well,
there he is.
Cool. Hey, Dave.
Me.
Yo, what's up, man?
Well, I'm can you hear me right now?
Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Wait, now I can't hear you guys. Hang on. Gosh damn it, motherfucker. Okay, you can hear me, correct?
I can hear you, dude. Can you hear me?
Colin, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I'm on your show. It's working.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Gotcha. All right, here I am. All right, I'm back. I'm working. I'm here. What's
right,
up, fellas?
cool. Hey, we're just having a conversation about fanboys and stuff, kind of the stuff that we talked about last night, and I just wanted to get your take on it, you know, because you've dealt with it, a lot of it, and you got sick of it. And, you know, I was talking to Colin about his response where it's kind of cut and dry with fanboys, like, we don't want you following our show, and we got into the toxic nature of it. I just wanted to get your side of it and kind of see where you're at with it, you know, to kind of give your take on it. Does, from what we talked about last night, in your sides of things, what's your take on fanboys in the console space?
Well, I think you have to define it a little bit better, right? I mean, there's fanboys like, you know, like you guys were saying, you know, Colin's a Jets fan. I'm an Auburn fan. Am I an Auburn football fanboy? Sure. I watch most of the games, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I have a little Auburn Tiger thing in my background, whatever. But you know, there are, you know, so is that what you mean by fanboy, or do you mean these people who go online and this pretty much seems to be their fucking life about which console is which, if you're is going to quote win? If you're talking about the latter, I'm kind of in Colin's camp, and that I think it's embarrassing and stupid, and you know, there's a it's not even that fine of a line. There's a very clear line between trash talking and having fun with your friends and going, yeah, I bought an Xbox the last time I, you know, fucked your mother. Oh, when was that? It's like, oh, you know, last night, whatever. It's, you know, shooting the shit, whatever. Then there's the ones that I get, you know, linked into these fucking threads, which is what I was tweeting about last week, which I think Dustin was responding to, which is like, Jesus Christ, you guys brought me into your stupid conversation on Twitter, and this has been going on for 3 fucking days. It's like, A, who gives a shit? B, you don't know. You don't have any more data than anyone else does. And C, even if you, quote, win the argument, who gives a fuck? Get on with your fucking life. So that kind of fanboy, I have no patience for. I find them obnoxious as shit. But the first kind of just like, oh, I prefer this over this, and it's fun trash talking with my friends, and then I get on with my fucking day. Yeah, sure, that's just fun.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to ask you is, because based off of what we talked about, people lump fanboys into one thing. Would you say that's correct? Because in general, they say, hey, you're a fanboy, or you're not a fanboy. I just think that there's not.
Well, I just said. I know, but I just said there's 2 different kinds. So I don't know what other people do. I'm telling you that maybe, you know, you could call it fanboy and toxic fanboy, but I'm saying I don't have a problem with someone being a passionate fan of something. I have a big problem with when I don't even have a problem with it. I just don't want to be involved with it. When people are such a fan that it goes beyond being a fan, and it goes beyond them identifying, almost like political identity politics, with a product or with a movie or with a video game to such a degree that it's clear they've got their own self-worth bound up in, you know, how Xbox or Sony does at, you know, every end of every quarter. And I just think that's better their time spent in therapy than on the internet.
Yeah, and I've talked to you behind the scenes, you know, because I do a pro PlayStation channel, but I've said multiple times on my podcast and on Twitter publicly that I don't like either side of that toxic spectrum. There's toxic fanboys on both sides, and we reached this conclusion when Colin and I were talking about sports fans. Like, if you go to a Dodger game, you shouldn't fear for your life. You know, there's a guy that got beat up at a Dodgers Giants game, and he was left severely disabled. That shouldn't happen, and that's taking to an extreme with the sports conversation. But with gaming and stuff, it shouldn't be your everything. You know, like, there's way more important things in life, and you could definitely see the difference between some of these people. Because if I say anything negative about Xbox on Twitter, first of all, Twitter is one of the most toxic places. So if you expect to be on social media and not receive that, that's just not what happens. Like, of all the social media platforms, Twitter is one of the most toxic. But beyond that, you can kind of see that when people are using racist remarks or derogatory remarks or getting personal with stuff. That's what I don't mess with that, and I think that that's the line that's drawn, but I do not have a problem laughing at jokes where people are doing quote unquote fanboy stuff with it, plus PlayStation or Xbox, in the terms that are being thrown around there. People just are, I just feel like they're uppity about it, where it's like, these are the terms that have been used online. Are they cringeworthy? Yes, they are, but I don't get offended about it and mute people because they use the word pony or Xbot, or they shared a meme. You know, I feel like there's a different approach that certain people take, and I just don't agree with it, because I feel like to lump every fanboy into this one category, it just doesn't work with some of these people. And I think that, like I said,
sure, but what does that have to do with? I mean, who's doing that?
So the response that Colin had.
I will tell you about my take on Colin's response. Okay, I was confused because Colin's response to me seemed very valid. Like I told you, if you look at Colin's tweet, and again, you'd have to ask Colin what it was besides what he's already articulated that he took issue with. But what I looked at it, what I said to you was, I'm like, well, if I was Colin, I would take issue with the statement where the guy said, not Colin, but the guy who did the tweet said, I don't see it in front of me, but it was something like he said, Colin was okay. Colin was making a statement that no publisher or no first-party hardware should buy publishers or whatever. And maybe Colin does or doesn't feel that way. It sounds like he does, but that's not what was reflected in the clip. Colin was specifically in that clip talking about Take-Two and Microsoft. And so for me, I was kind of going, maybe what Colin was upset about is sort of having that clip misrepresented in the follow-up text of the tweet. For sure. But you know, I don't really know. I mean, I think, you know, I'm a big fan of Colin's. I think he's a level-headed guy. He's a smart guy. He's consistent with what he says, and you know, he's a grown-ass man. He doesn't give a fuck about who wins the console wars. It's just not on his radar. Why would it be?
Yeah, I understand that, and that's kind of why we went to the conclusion that we did, right, about the initial conversation, because I know you guys are buddies and stuff, and I like you as well. So I just want
to I'm gonna go to the prom and make a baby with you.
But
Don't laugh that off. That could be a real romance in our lives. Come on, man. Jesus.
Think about it. We can go to Hawaii.
Oh, I am thinking about it right now.
But anyway, just let us know. I know we had some super chats. I'll let you guys get out of here if you want, and then I'm going to continue on with some of my peeps. But I do appreciate your time. Like I said, I don't have anything against Colin. I never have. I respect him. I still respect him, even the way it went down. So, you know, people in the chat can say whatever they want, or you know, fans of his can say what they want, but we're still here. I believe in debate. I believe in discussion, no matter where you sit on the side of Xbox or PlayStation or even politics, because we're not going to talk about that here, right? But David Jaffe thinks away with politics, and I still follow him, right? I still love talking to him, because I feel like to live in this bubble where you don't talk to different opinions, that's not the way I roll, right? And obviously some people are going to think one way or another, but I feel like we can all have discussion, even in this day and age on social media, where people usually love to reside in their bubble. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream. I enjoyed talking to both of these guys. I enjoy it. So I appreciate your time, Colin. I appreciate your time, Jaffe. Like I said, thanks for hanging out.
Anytime.
All right. So
yeah, thank you.
All right. Let's see here.
Hey,
right,
can we can at least agree on one thing though, right? All three of us, which is it was peaceful and quiet because there was no fucking women here. Am I right, boys? Am I right, boys?
He's gonna get me sleeping on the couch here. So especially since my wife is.
I appreciate. By the way, I appreciate you. You know, regardless of what happened, I appreciate, you know, it takes balls to, you know, have a debate, or not a debate, but just I hate that word, but just a conversation with anyone.
Oh yeah.
So I respect you inviting me. Now people know my great weakness, which is just challenge me, and I'll appear. Jaffe, I'll talk to you later, of course.
Yes, absolutely. Sounds good. All right, you guys, I'm out. I'll see you guys later. Thanks, everybody.
All right, so in this portion of the conversation, we're going to get to the super chats because I do appreciate all the support here. Wooly, you wanted to hop in as well. Some of the TSGP brothers, if you guys want to hop in, we can definitely talk about it as well. So I'm going to pull those up. We're going to talk about some of the statements that were made or not made, and we're kind of continue the conversation. But again, I appreciate Colin for stepping up. Like I said, I'm a small nobody YouTube channel, so the fact that he came out is respectable, defending his brand. I respect that. And David Jaffe, there's no explanation there, man. I love your content. Go check his channel out for sure. But let's talk about these super chats real quick. Like I said, I appreciate the members of the channel. You guys' names are scrolling in the top of the screen. If you guys could share this out and hit the like button, I appreciate it. All right, so let's start with the first one. Ricardo Estevez. Hey, Colin, easy on putting all these journalists in the same category. There's gaming journalists and there's journalists that work in video games. That's a great point. I think that that's a good point that needs to be made, because I think I've made this statement before that gaming journalism is not held to the same standards as regular journalism. I think anybody can start a website and talk about video games, and there's not too much standards there when it comes to, you know, gaming journalism. Wooly Gamer with the British pound, $5. Colin, sound like average gamer, talking down, mocking. Nothing you said in the podcast was wrong, Colin. What's wrong is how you backtracked. Wooly with another £5. Colin, this is pathetic. Own what you said. You talked down to Iagro. You're falling back on your ego. Explain what you meant. You won't. Black Waifus with the $10. What's up, Salty? Before it gets too heated, question for Colin. Sorry, he's not here anymore. I know you don't like the prospect, but Sony realistically merged with Square Enix. I selfishly want a remake of Soul Reaver. I think he answered that question in the debate. He's not really for that acquisition of publishers. Seth Barton with the $4.99. He literally acts like he's so much better than people. I think he's talking about Colin. Wooly with another $2. That's exactly what Agro said. Colin. Magnum Visuals with the $5. Colin called his disciples to come in here. I don't think he did that. He just has a following, and that's what happens, and I get it. Easy E with the $9.99. Bad luck for both. Colin is well informed, but just so full of himself. Salty is too emotional and unprepared. Bottom line, without fanboys, both wouldn't have their success online. So both grow up. I think that that's a great comment. I do get emotional. That's why I'm called Saltiest Gaming, you know. So I appreciate that. Gaston with the $2. Salt and Agro are fanboys. Read their last 10 tweets. It's cool. Easy with the $5. You were punching down publicly. Colin. The same thing. Your besties from KF. Did you after they tried to destroy your career? Kind of funny. Okay, when you were down. So he's talking about kind of funny there. Nintendo Power with the $10. If you have this right, someone took a clip of Colin on Sacred Symbols and a shitpost on Xbox. I wouldn't worry about preserving reputation on a garbage platform like Twitter to begin with. You'll never win anyways, and that's the point that I stated multiple times. Twitter's arguably one of the most toxic platforms out there, and I don't think you can win with that platform. I love it, but yeah, it's toxic. All right, Wooly Gamer, what's up, man?
Hey, my dude. How are you, dude?
Good.
Good. Fire show, my dude. I was just jumping in because I know you said you wanted to hang out with some of the panel afterwards. So
yeah,
let's get whoever's on the panel, like Jez in the chat, if you're free, brother. Be great to have you on and jump in, and we can continue this bad boy, dude. My thoughts. It was a great debate, but I just think some critical questions weren't asked, and the critical question for me is, how did Agro weaponize his video? Because that he says he changed the context or omitted context, but they were isolated 25 to 30 second long sentences that were one whole cut, that weren't clipped. They weren't a collage of one word phrases all put together to make it sound like he was criticizing Microsoft heavily. He was criticizing Microsoft heavily. That was the entire point. In that video, he went ham on them. He briefly mentioned it would It would be the same if Sony acquired Take-Two. That would be shit. Go figure. The difference is Sony can't acquire Take-Two because they don't have the capital. So that's a moot point. A moot point that was omitted, right? And then he said this podcast has been very kind to Microsoft. Don't know what he meant by that. But fair enough. So that's not critical to fit within a confined 2-minute, 19-second clip for Twitter purposes to get to the point, right? And in Agro's video, it was 2 minutes and 19 seconds of concise, consolidated, which is ironic that I use that word, material to prove the overall picture of what Colin was saying. He doesn't want Microsoft to acquire more publishers. It is shitty and bad. Now, by posting that, Colin went ham on him, spoke down to him saying, "You've twisted my words." So what, Colin? You're saying that something that you called heinous, you're not against? You're not against that? Because it sounds like you're fucking against it. Or are you actually saying that you would support something that's heinous? That you view as heinous? That doesn't make any sense. So even if you didn't explicitly say, I do not want Microsoft to buy more huge publishers, you clearly implied that through everything you were saying about it. So I just think that people in the chat weren't sure what this whole thing was about. They were confused as fuck because you both agree critically on the main subject. Neither of you want Microsoft to acquire publishers. Neither of you want Sony to acquire big publishers, right? So that wasn't the issue. The issue was what Colin later did after that podcast, where he was shooting down fans who agree with him, calling them or implying that they're fanboys who he doesn't want their love. And in my opinion, what Agro put was absolutely fair. What his video showed was the sum of, a 10-minute ramble, that 4 minutes of which was just Chris going on a tangent that he cut out because it was just filler. It wasn't going, oh, but guys, every criticism that we just said doesn't matter because Microsoft is awesome and we love them and you should love them too. No, those criticisms stood. So that whole argument and that whole defense that Colin has, saying that he didn't say what was implied that he said, or he wasn't shitting on Microsoft. No, what that video Agro posted wasn't him shitting on them. It was him stating the facts, criticizing them. Now, if Colin wants to shy away from the fact that he was criticizing them after he criticized them to, 80,000, 90,000 subscribers, that's on him. That's not on you. That's not on Agro, right? And that's my whole issue with this and I don't think that was properly conveyed, and I think people are missing the point in the chat. So if I was you guys, I would do exactly what Colin suggests you did and watch that whole 10-15 minute clip, right? It's on his on the his channel. It's called Sacred Symbols Podcast. It was 1 week ago. Begins with Transylvania or some shit. It's titled. And it's 2 minutes 19. It's 2 hours 19 minutes in, and he goes on this rant, and it continues. But all those criticisms they made that were in that video that Agro shared was in that 10-minute section. And in my opinion, that's not twisting the context. That's just summarizing what he was saying and the whole point of what he said. Yeah.
Chris, you there, my dude?
Yeah. What's up?
What's going on, man?
What's up? So I'm gonna be honest. Overall, I thought this was a bad debate.
Okay, that's cool.
I thought this was because I think those things like both like I don't know, like I agree with a lot of things that Willie was saying, because it wasn't like what he said in the video wasn't true. Like they were the ones, like he was the one saying that, the Microsoft consolidation, will be bad, which Sean Layden also said that on What's Up or whatever. So when Agro, or whatever his name is, right, he took that because we constantly hear the topic about Microsoft acquiring studios. So that main topic that Colin was talking about was mainly about Microsoft, although he did mention Sony, right? Because you had to throw Sony in there because it'll be the same situation if Sony is going, is buying all these publishers or whatever, right? But I didn't see, but what Egro was, you know, he was just showing him like, hey, like, because everybody keep talking about Microsoft acquisition. This is what Colin and his crew had to say about it. They said these things. They said it would be horrible for the industry. The other guy said that Microsoft has, you know, and he was being like kind of aggressive with it too. Like Microsoft has a management issue and stuff like that. Some that we all knew. So I'm guessing Colin probably took it as the Egro was trying to frame it in a way where, you know, they're just completely just ripping in on Microsoft or anything like that. But that's exactly what was said in the actual video clip. Now the thing about like the debate on the other side, it's like sometimes I felt like you have some bad arguments too, Salty, because sometimes and I'm just keeping it real. I'm just keeping it real. You know what I mean? But because sometimes he would you ask him a question and he will break things down on like what he's doing with his podcast or his media and stuff like that. And a couple times you reverted back to, well, you sound triggered and you're just talking down to me. And I don't like how you're talking down to me, instead of having like an actual proper rebuttal back to what he was saying, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
So you didn't think he was talking down to me?
Well, I mean, he got a little bit triggered and shit like that. I mean, anybody could take it how they wanted to take it, but yeah, like he did sound kind of, you know, condescending and arrogant and stuff like that. But those times where he calmed down and he was just breaking things down, and then it kept going back to, you know, oh, you're just triggered yeah.
The main issue I had was I was trying to present things and he just didn't want to hear it, you know? Like I couldn't even do like I can show you a list of, because people were talking about ill prepared, man. Wooly was there. Do you want to see a Microsoft Word document that I have here? I don't even need to show it. I know that I was prepared, but I was getting undercut when I was trying to explain things, and when I was trying to show things, he's like, "Oh, why do we have to watch that?" Or you know what I'm saying? I've explained things.
Why do I need to explain to you? Just watch the video, and that's not explaining. We watched the video. We've all seen the video. It's about explaining what you really meant, because what you're claiming you meant is different to what Agro shared, and what he shared was what you said. It summed up. So the question is, how was that context changed? And that was something he was refusing to answer. He was saying it was changed and weaponized, but he wasn't explaining how it was. And just a response to Eric the Beard, who says, Woolly Gamer, regardless, Agro framed it for console war bullshit. You know, I know it, everyone knows it. Agro might be a fan of PlayStation. Hell, he might be even a fanboy. But do you not think that Microsoft buying a publisher like Take-Two and owning GTA is as relevant to fans as it is fanboys? So regardless of who Agro is or his motivations, he didn't frame what Colin said as saying something worse than what he actually said in his full clip. In fact, when I broke it down, dude, he omitted 5 seconds from Colin, and then he omitted 10 seconds from Colin. And then an entire, that was literally 2 of the cuts was 5 and 10 seconds of needless filler. And it was 2 minutes and 17 seconds long, Agro's tweet, right? The limit is 2 minutes 19. He had to condense it. So the motivation here was condensing, not twisting or changing what he used. But if that goes towards his motivations for protecting the gaming industry, not wanting Microsoft to buy more studios, then what the fuck is that to you or Colin? He doesn't want what Colin doesn't want. They want the same thing. So you say it was used to fuel fanboy nonsense. In my opinion, Colin went ham, pointing at the fucking camera, going, "Let Microsoft know this. Pause. It will backfire on them." He said all that shit for fueling viewers, for effect, for impact, right? He went full on flipping theatric with it, calling it heinous for Microsoft to buy more studios. Then there was a long rant, and you can't deny this. There was a long rant about Microsoft's failure to utilize their first-party studios, so they resort to buying. They said those exact fucking words. Now, you might go, oh, that triggers fanboys and fuels fanboy war. Well, Colin fucking said it. So whose fault is that? Agro's or Colin's? And is it even a fault? Because we all agree with him here. It wasn't the issue. The issue isn't what Colin said was wrong. It wasn't. Everything Colin said was spot on. We all agreed with him. Agro agreed with him. The issue was how he treated Agro. That was the point.
And the fact of the matter is, I get it, man. There's still calling guys in here. That's cool, man. You guys can keep talking. That's the way things work here online. I'm not going to say anything about it.
Oh, yeah. About the whole. So people were saying, and even Colin said during the debate, he's like, positive comments, right, that are on his side are being deleted. Now, I was deleting a lot of comments, but it wasn't the people who were rooting for Collins. It was for the people who were saying, "Oh, Saltiest Gaming, you a pussy." There was one that even said Collins' dad was a racist. I deleted that one. All right, so just the people who were being straight up disrespectful, I was deleting. Not the people who. So I
have no controls. Like all right, I'm trying to run a show here, and you guys may not get it. But, you know, the mods are trying to control shit. This is the internet, and people they hide behind keyboards and say whatever they want. But the fact of the matter is, you know, I put my ass on the line here or anybody else, and, you know, 98% of those people that are shit talkers would never do that. So it is what it is. So here's the deal. All right. So I knew this was kind of a no-win situation by doing this. When I said what I said on my podcast, was I expecting Colin to respond? No, it wasn't even part of the topics. Just ask the boys on TSGP. Did I bring Colin up in the topics? You can go look at the DMs. No, I didn't. I did not do it, and it just kind of organically fed into that, and I said what I said. Was I expecting him to respond? No, I wasn't. I wasn't even saying it for that. I didn't care about it. It was a topic that it just was random, and I spoke my mind like I did. So he called me. He said that he would show up on the show. He can't do stuff on Thursdays, so we did, and I wanted to be respectful to the point where it was one-on-one, so it was even, so I didn't have the TSGP boys ganging up on Colin. Right? I try to do everything in my power to keep it respectful. Trust me. That's why I try to get Jaffe on. But I talked to him last night in the Discord, and it became clear that he didn't want to be a moderator. He told me that he's not familiar with that. So should we have had a moderator? Yeah. Could it have been better? Sure. But I feel like discussions could be had, and it felt like, you know, Colin was here and he didn't want to be here. I can't control that, right? So he thinks the way he did, and I set this up because I'm not going to shy away from doing something. Can you imagine, right? I call Colin out and I said, "Hey, you want to come up on the show?" He says, "Yeah," on Twitter, and I'm like, "Well, just kidding. I don't want you to," you know, it's a no-win situation here. So you guys could say whatever you want. That's cool. But we're going to continue to have conversations. Carl with the €5. Salty, you handled this one bad, but in your defense, Colin did not want to be here to begin with and only showed up because you called him out. I agree to that. It didn't go the way that I would have liked. Like I said, when I was talking to David Jaffe behind the scenes, you know, I envisioned this going a certain way where we could have a discussion about fanboys, but I guess people don't really agree with what I had to say, where it's not as cut and dry, where fanboys can exist and you can joke about stuff. But I guess it's just a situation where people are like, well, if you're a fanboy, fuck you. You know what I'm saying? You share a joke online, you're a fanboy in my eyes, then, well, fuck you and have a nice day. I'll block you, you know? Nelson Gaming with the $5. Just curious if you had to order special pan. Okay, for those enormous balls, figured out why I don't listen to them and I don't do agos. I'm not sure what that means, but so what else, guys? Anything else?
I was just gonna say, I think if Agro's a fanboy, it's because he's not working in the industry, and so Colin automatically calls him a fanboy because, God forbid, he has a passion about a specific about gaming and the importance of gaming acquisitions, and yes, he has a preference, PlayStation. But if Colin Moriarty didn't work in the gaming business, would he be a fanboy? Because he has a preference. He doesn't want Microsoft to acquire more publishers. They're the only ones that have the capital to splash out big time on. Yeah, I know people say Square Enix, but you got to appreciate, right? Square Enix and Take-Two are completely different kettles of fish, right? Square Enix is only good with their Japan games. Ironic because so many people shit on Japanese games, but Square Enix's Western side is weak as fuck. Look how desperate they've been recently because of Avengers and all that shit. These are completely different things. And Colin still also said Sony buying Take-Two would be scummy. So you know, he was talking specifically about Take-Two, and the point is that I'm pretty sure Colin would have the exact same motivations as Agro. If he sees somebody he loves to watch and he's a fan and he validates his entire like principle of belief that it would be wrong to do this, then he feels validated and vindicated, right, in his conviction. And he's like, I'm going to share this. I'm going to praise the fuck out of this guy because he's saying what I've been preaching this whole damn time. And I'm so happy to share this, right? Now, is that fanboy war fueling, or is that just making a fucking point and giving that point exposure? In my opinion, it's the latter, not the former. And I think the whole issue, for those who aren't aware, because I know there was a lot of confusion in the chat, the whole issue of this debate was Salty called him out on how he responded to a fan with that exact point. He was just giving Colin's words exposure. Colin didn't like it because I'm guessing he was a little uncomfortable with the amount of vitriol that Colin spoke with. He regretted his own take because it sounded extremely critical when he looked back. And God forbid Agro's tweet made him look back, right? And that's the point. And that's the only reason why Colin was on the show tonight, is because Salty called him out on the way he responded to a fan, not on the fact that he's against publisher acquisitions, because we all agree that shit ain't good.
Yeah, and I feel like this debate we still didn't get. It's like we still didn't get to like the root of like what I mean. I guess he said because he didn't want his podcast or whatever being portrayed in the light, but like we showed in the clip, you can see the unedited, you can see the whole thing in its entire context. That specific subject was mainly about Microsoft and them buying Take-Two. He mentioned Sony obviously because you know he wanted to be fair. To be fair, Sony does this too, and we all believe that as well. But this whole topic was always about Microsoft because Microsoft is the only one out here that bought an entire publisher. Microsoft is the only one that we repeatedly hear every single week, new rumors every single week. They're gonna buy Sega. They're gonna buy Take-Two. They're gonna buy. So Colin cannot sit here and say that specific segment of his show was specifically mainly about Microsoft, even though yes, PlayStation was also mentioned in there that if they did the same thing, it will be bad. And then the Aggro dude, he's sharing it because he agrees, and we all agree. Yo, if Microsoft buys Take-Two, if they buy Sega, if they buy all this consolidation, Sean Layden said the same thing, right? Then he was just sharing that what Colin was saying, somebody that he likes and he sees as a good representation in the media, and because Colin like what he was saying earlier, he's not tied to anybody. He's not tied to Sony, Microsoft as far as like they give him handouts and all that stuff with that. So I still feel like we didn't get like a direct answer for it, or maybe we did. Maybe I wasn't understanding, right? But then he was avoiding answering. Yeah, it seems like that, and then I feel like on the Salties, on your behalf as well. There was I feel like you didn't have a lot of proper rebuttals to some of the things he was saying as well, and some of the some of the questions. I felt like it kept going back to what you're talking down on people and you're getting triggered, and he was getting defensive. He was starting to talk over you after he got mad about you talking over him and saying he was going to leave the show. I didn't think that was right on his behalf, so he had some on bullshit as well. So overall, I could have felt like maybe a mediator probably would have been better.
I tried to have that, dog. I tried to. And
right.
The person that I was trying to have said he didn't know how to do that or didn't want to do that. Like, I knew it would go to this. That's why I tried to say in the original title that Jaffe was going to be the mediator, but he couldn't be when he was going one side or another. When you're a mediator, you control shit, you let people talk, and unfortunately it didn't go that way. So that's the way it happened. There's no other way to say it.
And to be honest, I'm seeing people in the chat, like one guy said that, Wooly, you should have debated Colin, not Salty. That ain't fair, my dude, because let me tell you something. If I had debated Colin, I would have bottled. I wouldn't have been able to collect my thoughts, to articulate my points. What I just articulated this last 10, 15 minutes, right, is because I have a clear mind and I'm able to collect my thoughts. But it takes a while for me, right? That's just how it is with me. I think it was, I had a shit go on five years ago, and everything changed for me. Now it's hard for me to read a book without my brain getting exhausted, right? So it's I have to operate differently now, and I have to really think things through before so that I can picture it like a picture before I say shit. Otherwise, I'll get a brain fart and my mind will go blank. Now that is especially the case when I'm talking. Fuck it. I get like that just talking to David Jaffe. I had him on the show the other day on the podcast on the Company of Gamers, and I was shitting myself like tomorrow because I get stuff right. So I think Salty handled himself fucking well, considering. And unfortunately, it's frustrating that the critical point wasn't answered because Colin frankly,
I tried.
He didn't want to answer it.
I tried playing video. He was countered to that. He says, "What's the point?" Talking down constantly. And then the thing is like, I fuck with King Thrash and all them, and Optimus Code. And it's a big deal for a lot of the community to show your credentials, Like, who else has asked Colin or called him out about where he plays or his credentials as a gamer, Yeah. I don't think anybody has called him out on that. So it is what it is. I don't see it like that. I don't see Colin as like this famous person, or even, I respect these people for what they've done, but I've talked about it. I don't ever have that need to go up and get an autograph from someone like a sports player. I think the only person that I would probably do that for is Mark Hamill with Star Wars, right? There's just specific people that I would do that for, like Michael Jordan, but everybody else, I don't give a fuck, dude. I don't care how much money you make or what stuff you're in. You're just a regular person. That's why I went about this, because, trust me, when people were before the debate, people were like, oh my God, Colin, he does this and that, he's going to destroy you. And it's like, I could have took the easy way out. Do you think it's easy to go up with someone that has all this experience or clout and, followers? No, it's not. But the fact is, I don't back down to that. Like I said, I made statements on my podcast, and if he wanted to come back and have a talk about it, then we did it. Now, was it in the best light? No, but like I said, I tried to set it up that way. It didn't go that way. So it is what it is. I just think the way he responded to Agro was dickish, like I said. He's trying to protect his company. I respect that. I think it could have been done a different way.
Half Pint in the chat who writes, I see Colin's point. He's upset that the Sony stuff was taken out for what he thinks is good, is console war stuff. But at the same time, Colin isn't good and being challenged and doesn't react well to it. Completely agree. The difference, but there is something to note, Half. What was omitted in Agro's tweet was also the point where he said that Sony don't have the same problem that Microsoft has when it comes to utilizing their first-party studios well. He actually went so ham on Microsoft's inability to output good content that they resort to buying, so much so that he then said Sony don't have this problem with PlayStation. He directly compared them to PlayStation word for word in 10-second sentence, right? And that wasn't even in Agro's tweet. So Agro was really struggling to fit everything into 2 minutes and 19 seconds. He kept it critical, right? Keeping everything consolidated and confined and point to point to point. And he missed out a juicy fanboy pro-Sony quote that could have been included, but it wasn't. So keep that same energy, my dude. And this is the point here. Colin was completely wrong calling Agro out, getting all his goons on him. Yeah, Agro blew up 300 followers apparently. Good for him. He handled it really fucking well, because he still has, right now, at this very second probably, a load of you goons who were in the chat tonight on this podcast who were shit-talking Salty, shit-talking Agro. And he was like, one guy was like, "Oh, it didn't work out well for you, did it, Agro?" And Agro was like, "It got me 300 followers actually, so yeah, it worked out pretty damn good, and good for him, you know, handling it well." But the point is, Agro omitted things that were pro Sony as well as anti Sony, because it wasn't about Sony. The fucking thumbnail was Microsoft acquisitions. How do we think it will go down? It was about fucking Microsoft. So go figure. He didn't include the shit about Sony, including the pro Sony stuff. So I'm just saying, keep that same energy, guys. Yeah. We've watched the content. Colin keeps saying, watch the fucking video. We've watched the video. He said what he said, and he isn't owning it. That's the point.
Yeah,
Chris,
and it's like the only thing he kept. I just don't. I don't understand what the whole issue was in the first place, because everything he said in that video is exactly what he said, and he was mainly talking about Microsoft. So I don't, like what? Or they cut off the part where he said that Sony buys Take-Two. It's bad. It was like, yeah, but anybody can go look at it, but it still doesn't change that he went in on Microsoft. So I don't understand when he's trying to say that the aggro dude is trying to pay him until he's just only going in on Microsoft, and he didn't mention Sony or whatever, when the main topic was about, I know I keep repeating myself, but that main topic, yeah, even if you mention Sony, it still relates more to Microsoft, because Microsoft are the ones who are rumored to buy these publishers, and Microsoft are the only ones who are buying these publishers. Sony is not. Sony's buying single studios.
Yeah.
So anyway, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Dustin Furman in the chat, cool of you guys to shit talk our audience after Colin leaves. Oh, fuck off, dude. This isn't shit talking. This is clarifying. I literally said Agro omitted from his video pro Sony shit and comparing Sony to Xbox favorably in Sony's in light of Sony and negatively in light of Xbox. He didn't include that in the video, and Colin said that shit. That isn't me shit talking Colin. That's me just stating the facts. And if you can't handle the facts, then what the fuck are you doing watching this podcast?
Anyway,
hold on. Let me correct some things.
Yeah,
nobody's in here is the okay. At least I'm not. I don't know about anybody else, right?
You're just giving your opinion, right? You're not defending anybody.
No. I'm not defending. I gave Salty my criticism.
Yeah.
I gave Colin my criticism. Nobody. The whole thing with aggro is like, yeah, we know he trolls and stuff like that. Yeah. But the content of this video was true. Like the content, like I don't like. Colin was trying to make it seem like he, at least from my end, he was trying to make it seem like he wasn't, just only talking about or mainly talking about Microsoft, because he also mentioned PlayStation in there. But he mainly was. Just because, we're talking about studio acquisition and shit like that, that the main thing that we would talk about is Microsoft, because they're the only ones who's doing that. He did mention, Sony buying Take-Two will also be a bad thing. So it's not like this is a defense of aggro. This is just, we're pointing out what he said in the video, and then what he went after aggro, and trying to say that wasn't like the content of that video, or that wasn't the content of that specific clip, or anything like that. So people just in the chat saying that we're just defending the aggro dude.
I'm just very confused, because Colin talked about how he doesn't mess with fanboys, right? But if aggro is like this known fanboy, wouldn't he have blocked him or muted him a long time ago? Like, why is he even seeing the tweets? That's the question I have, because I mute people if they're, like, mute or block, like, and then he's saying that his homie got flack on Twitter. Yeah, welcome to Twitter.
Because Agro's a fan. Agro's just a fan, and Colin's probably read his super chats. Colin's probably appreciated his love in quotes up until Agro shares a consolidated video highlighting the main points of Colin's severe and heavy criticism that you cannot say didn't exist in that video, and it's like maybe reality came back to haunt Colin. Maybe he realized that the shit that he said was very profound, very hard hitting, and that's exactly why Agro fucking loves him. That's why he said, I'm so happy that Colin said this shit.
The thing The thing that I want to point out, like I said, I said this to Colin, right? I'm a small channel. I don't care. Wooly said I'm not a small. I am a small channel. You know what I'm saying? So it's just odd to me because I've experienced these things, right? I experienced people lying through their teeth, right? I don't need to bring up the things that they've lied about, but you know how pointless it would be for me to respond to every troll that says a lie about me or my content that would damage my brand. That's the thing about the internet. Anybody could say anything about you, and you don't control that. That's what I told Wooly. Because Wooly, you know, like you can't control it.
Chat,
What's up?
This person in the chat named Alexis keeps saying that they need to tell us something. This person DM'd me talking about they need to tell us something about what's going on. It's getting crazy. I don't know if you want to let this person in or what. I don't know who this person is.
Are they in the Discord? If not, send them a link, man. I mean, I can put the link. Let me put it in the Discord. You can copy it and you can send it out. I mean, I could put it in the Twitter. Yeah. The Twitter.
Hey, we're gonna, as well. Alexis. We're gonna bring you in. We're gonna take a chance on you. I hope you're not no troll or anything like that.
If he or she's a troll, they'll get kicked. That's just the way it is, man. So.
I send that person a link.
All right, cool. I mean, that's
in the
right
chat. Shout out to Kids Move in the chat saying you're defending this aggro like he's not.
That's who I was responding to before.
Yeah, like he's not kind of a troll. But I'm sorry, Kids Move, but if he's a troll, then what are you? Because you both operate pretty much the same way.
Hey, Smooth, I defend you all the time, Smooth. So what are you talking about?
If he's not an innocent gaming fan, then I take it you're not an innocent gaming fan either.
Right, so Dreamwalker in the chat, come to think of it, you could have invited Agro. He doesn't speak English well, all right? So he already said that. He's from a Spanish-speaking country. He types English well, but he does not speak it. He felt like he couldn't enunciate his thoughts well. So no, that's not an option. I mean, people have thoughts of what I could have done or what I couldn't have done. The bottom line is there's 99% of the people out there don't have the balls to call anybody out online and actually show up when they respond. Because there's one thing to be behind a keyboard and say stuff. There's another to put yourself out vocally and defend it, okay? Especially to popular people. I was telling my friend, because we do a sports podcast, I'm like, to kind of associate one-to-one, it'd be like me calling out Stephen A. Smith from ESPN on some takey ad, him responding to my podcast and having him on. Like, a lot of people would be scared shitless out of their mind, right? What Wooly said, be shitting themselves and not be able to put one word together after two. But that's not the way I focus. I don't do this, all right? If I'm going to put a thing out there in the wild, I'm going to defend it, all right? So I did, and a lot of times before, like when I was first starting off in YouTube, a lot of people don't even know I debated Bari, Jay Bari. Jay Bari was in this, and I was at Xbox, and I did it on Next Gen's channel. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, dude. But I did it, right? Jay Bari was this knowledgeable, debater, and guess what? Next Gen threw me to the wolves. Shout out to him, dude, for his fuck shit. You know what I'm saying? But I went in there because I like to debate, because I'm not scared. The thing is that's what life is. W's, L's, it doesn't matter. It's all a process, right? How many L's did Michael Jordan have? Anybody. It's part of the process. You may think I took an L or a W today. It doesn't matter one fucking bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay?
Like, people think that when you have a 90,000 subscriber base and you get, a shit ton of his subscribers, fans. He has 160,000 followers on Twitter. He has more than double the amount of followers on Twitter than he does subscribers on his freaking podcast, right? And we know what Twitter's like, right? So when this shit got out on Twitter, you're going to get, I say in quotes, ratioed. But that ratio means fuck all, because it's not articulated. It's not a tangible ratio that's a result of being hard done by through sheer logic. It's just people trash talking you and a person having more followers than you. It's
Trust me, because that's what I heard. I mean, he talked about his homie getting shit talk on Twitter, and he was thinking about getting off. Trust me, dog. If I got off the first time that people got shit talked to me, I would have been gone in 2017. All right? It doesn't, you can't have light skin in this industry, dog. And I understand that you do it, but if you think that you're going to glance through Twitter and not have shit talkers and liars and trolls and all kinds of shit like we're having in this chat, and if you can't deal with that, I don't know what to say. You know what I'm saying? Just because Colin's coming to bat for it, it doesn't change the fact that people can lie or say whatever they want or troll or this and that. That's the internet. It's the wild, wild west. There's no checks and balances there. Nobody to control anything when it comes to information, especially in the gaming space where gaming journalism is a fucking joke. So guess what? Twitter, they lie. They do whatever they want. They troll. And if you let it get to them, you know, they go more ham. But it's just a part of the process. But I do see positives in the Twitter space. That's why I'm there. I love all the positive people, all the cool people. But the trolls that fuck around and are toxic, I mean, block them, mute them, whatever. It is what it is. But I just find it funny that Colin responded to my no-name channel that he knew nothing about, yet he was talking about it after 10 minutes of watching one video on me. Yeah, he preached like he fucking knew me since elementary school. The fact of the matter is you didn't know shit about me. And you come into this debate and you talk like you do, which kind of loses credence on your part, because how the fuck are you going to know anything about me when you don't know about me? I'm not important enough to know about. So do you understand that, what I'm talking about? Yep. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. He didn't know what kind of content I make. He doesn't know I do the Saltiest PlayStation News Report every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. He doesn't give a fuck about that. But my podcasts are different. Okay, I talk about all things gaming. We chuck it up. We we laugh or whatever. So whatever, it is what it is. I mean, you believe what you want to believe. I don't care. If you want to think I took an L or a W, I don't care. Okay? That's just the way it is. I felt like this needed to be addressed because he responded and we did it. I wanted to have a moderator. We didn't fucking have one. So it is what it is. Who is this person in the chat? Alexis. Saying it needs 5 minutes is 4:03. All right, we'll give you 5 minutes. We got some super chats to see what happened here. Let me reload it here. Yeah, we have the Saltiest Gaming podcast tomorrow. I'll call out Colin again. He'll be on here for another. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to do that. All right.
He reminded me of Average Gamer, dude. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. We can talk about that.
Honestly, I felt like I was talking to the same fucking person.
All right.
It's true though, isn't it? You laugh because you know it's true.
I know it's true. Sanu.com with the Australian put another shrimp on the bobby, $7.99. Colin told the truth about Xbox, and Xbox attacked his team rather than calling out the Xbox. He lashed out to the person who's sharing his content. I mean, that couldn't be more of the truth there, Wooly, right? Let me read that again. Colin told the truth about Xbox and Xbox attacking his team rather than calling out the Xbox. He lashed out at the person who shared his content. Magnum Visuals with the $5. Colin kept beating around the bush like Griffin. Don't get me started on that, dude. I won't talk about that dude right now. But like I said, I've been in multiple debates, and I asked him questions, try to provide videos that I have queued up. I mean, I could show you guys.
Listen, guys.
Look at this.
I'm sorry,
I have
right?
video here. Video,
in a court of law,
video.
In a court of law, guys, you ask questions, right, to get to the truth. Now, Colin was rejecting questions. He was like, "Why the fuck are you asking me these pointless questions? That isn't how it works. You ask questions to get the answers, and the answers allow you to paint a picture, right? But those questions weren't. He wasn't allowing those questions to be answered. So by calling them questions silly, and people were mocking Salty, saying, Salty, what the fuck is this? Blah, 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 blah. Well, actually, guys, you have to realize something. Questions are for grown-ups, right? Grown-ups ask questions, and questions allow you to get answers. And if you can't handle that, then, you wouldn't stand a second in a courtroom.
All right, Alexis.
Hello?
What's up?
Hey, what's going on? Is Chris in here?
Yes. Yes, he is.
Chris, just wanted to say thank you for your service, bro. You know, I'm active duty too, so you know, I appreciate you.
Awesome.
I just want to let you know.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, bro, you're awesome. Thanks for that. So I joined a little bit late. But so you were talking to Colin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was in like this Discord for the Snark Tank, and they're like talking mad shit in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll let you know.
What'd they have to say, my dude? Anything special?
Wait, no, not Snark Tank. My bad. It's a kind of funny one.
Kind of funny. Okay.
Yeah, the one with David Jaffe.
Yeah. What?
Oh,
right. What were they saying?
See, I don't even know that. I don't. So kind of funny.
Wasn't David Jaffe on the show?
He was.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
So David Jaffe was talking then too?
No, David Jaffe didn't say anything in Discord.
Okay. What were
they
saying?
What was being said?
What were they saying in kind of funny?
Felt like you had to come in here.
Wait, what about kind of funny?
Bro, you're saying that you're saying they were
saying.
Wait,
no,
stuff?
I'm not in. Hold on. Wait, what do you guys think? Hold on. What's going on?
Can you just reiterate why have you come here?
Hold on. You said that they're saying stuff in the Discord, right?
Which Discord?
You said the kind of funny Discord.
No, wait, there's no kind of funny Discord.
So what are you talking about?
The other Discord.
All right, so what happened?
Yeah, what Discord? Which Discord?
The Kanye West one.
All right, he's up. So that's what happens when you try to get people on, man. I mean, dumb people like that. So that's why we don't have call-ins, right? You have trolls like that. But regardless of what happened, I think that we're kind of at our end here. I'd like to thank everybody for hanging out again. This is one of the things that we'll do here. We're going to be doing the Saltiest Gaming podcast like normal tomorrow at 9 p.m. What is it? 8 p.m. Eastern? Yeah, 5 p.m. Pacific. We're going to be talking about the latest and greatest in gaming news like always. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon for future notifications. We're out of